Okay, I'm not going to ramble too much, but I just want to talk about active shooter training. If we're training to respond to an active shooter situation, um, again, if you're law enforcement, you're going to have certain procedures and protocols and things like this, but you may be off duty at the time. You may be working security detail at the time, or you may just be a CCW civilian who is in a situation where an active shooter situation occurs. And now you have to respond. How you respond, there's many different ways to do that. You could go with the escape and evade method, right? If you didn't have a weapon, this is normally what you would do. Sometimes even if you did have a weapon, but you're not confident in your training, this may be the best thing for you to do is to escape and evade. Um, with good training, you're going to have more options. So you may be able to actually go in and attempt to take down that shooter. Um, or you may be pinned down, and the only way to get out is through the shooter. So again, you're not going in to actually put him down. You're just facing him in order to get yourself out or the people around you out, whether they're your loved ones or just the people that happen to be caught in that situation as well. But to go through an active shooter situation like that without any proper training, you've already set yourself up for failure. And when I say proper training, I'm not talking about just a few weekend trips to the gun range with your girlfriend. A lot of people that I talk to that carry a weapon, they think they got it figured out because they're like, oh, I carry a weapon, I go to the range every now and then, and I could keyhole the bullseye in the range. So if active shooter can happen, I'll be fine. Okay, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. Yes, marksmanship is an important skill set to have. Your 7 fundamentals of shooting do have to be there to make some of the precision shots you're going to have to make in an active shooter situation. But again, we're missing the big picture. A lot of these ranges, they're not even going to allow you to draw the weapon from your holster. So you haven't even trained on how to get your gun into the fight safely and efficiently. Okay, so you're already at a disadvantage. Now, they don't let you do that, and range officers are very strict on that for good reason, because too many times people think they know when they don't really know, and they don't get the proper training, but they think they got it figured out. So if you just let that guy draw from the holster in the range, he's probably going to shoot himself in the leg or the guy next to him in the leg, and they can't have that for liability reasons, so it's best for them to say nobody draws from the holster. Okay, that's for range safety. That has no place in a gunfight, because in a gunfight you better draw from the holster, and you better do it quickly, and you better be efficient at it, and not shoot anybody while you're doing it. But how are you supposed to train for that if range officers won't allow you to do this? Well, here comes the problem. So that's why you have to separate the range training as specific 7 fundamentals of shooting and marksmanship. But you're going to need way more than that in order to deal with a real life urban shooting environment or combative shooting environment. Drawing from the holster is a big thing, and that's just one of the many things that you're going to need to do. There's going to be level changes, different shooting positions you're going to have to get into, knowing how to work with barricades and around barricades, knowing the difference between cover and concealment and how to use them both to your advantage, how to shoot with targets in your target's foreground and your target's background. It's a very dynamic, very crazy, chaotic situation, but that's what you're going to be faced with, and you can't wait to approach that for the first time in that setting, because you're setting yourself up for failure. So the question comes, how are you supposed to train that then if range officers won't let you do that? And even most tactical courses are very restrictive on what you can do. You stand on a firing line, everybody shoots this way. With that kind of setting, again, it's more for a liability. Yes, they're stringing you along and giving you little bits and pieces at a time to better yourself as a shooter and make sure that you're safe before they throw everything at you. But you have to keep this stuff in context, right? You can't do that and then think, oh, that's it, I'm set. Like, now I could go through an active shooter situation and like just bullseye this guy in the head and come out unscathed. It doesn't work that way. What people fail to see is when you see, special operations guys go through a kill house and they're, working live fire in that kill house. That's the end product, right? That's what they're showing you at the end. What you're not seeing is the thousands of times they went through that house dry, focusing on every movement, which foot is getting in that doorway, where is it getting in that doorway, where do I go next, where does the next guy come in. All of those little details and that motion, that body motion that has to occur, that weapon manipulation that has to occur, that trigger discipline, that muzzle awareness, that ability to regain sight picture, sight alignment, all of that stuff has to be done dry. Once you have it dry, then you could start to add the live fire element. Okay, but what people fail to see is all the dry fire training that these special operations guys do, and that's really what makes them able to do it live. You don't just wake up and be able to do that live and just practice live. You do that, too many people die, right? Mistakes happen. Even at that level, mistakes happen. These things are chaotic and forever changing. Things go wrong. It happens all the time. So what you have to do is you have to train these things dry. This is why I provide the dry fire courses, right? My active shooter response course is a dry fire course. Once I see we could do it dry, and we've gone through it many, many times, and everybody knows how to manipulate their weapon in that kind of environment safely and confidently and efficiently, well, then now I could add something like UTMs, which is an artificial round, and we could start working that force-on-force dynamic, okay? That's great training also. Special operations guys will use the same UTMs that I use in my courses. And that's what you would work with. After that, you could start to work a live fire element. But again, there's certain things you could do dry. There's certain things you could do with UTM that you could just never do live because of sheer safety. Okay? So the dry fire courses, or the force-on-force courses, the simunition, the UTM courses, courses like that are going to excel you in your training tremendously and really prepare you for what an active shooter situation is like. And that's why I provide these type of courses. Instead of just taking you out to a range, putting you on a fire line and ringing steel, yeah, it's a confidence booster, but am I really setting you up to be able to work your weapon in a urban combat, dynamic environment? No, I'm not. This is why I favor the dry courses, and that's what I provide to my students. Once I see you could do that live, yes, we'll start to go out live and really work that marksmanship and everything live and add some dynamic movements and things like that out there in a live setting. But you got to go through these dry things first. People just don't understand the value of it, and part of why I'm making this video is so you could understand that if you want to be an asset to society and an active shooter situation arises in your presence, you want options. You want to be able to decide, do I have the tools to be able to deal with this, or not? You can't make that decision then. It's all the prior training you had up until that moment that's going to help make that decision. And that's my job as an instructor, is to give you the tools and the techniques necessary to be able to go through that situation where you're confident enough to be able to handle that situation. I don't make the decision for you. When you're faced with that situation, you're going to decide, do I escape and evade, or do I press this guy with my gun? That's a decision that you're going to make based on your skill sets at that time. It's my job to give you the tools and the best fighting chance to be able to pursue and have a greater success rate, but the decision is ultimately yours. It's not mine. It's just my job to prepare you for that. But in order to properly prepare you, I have to simulate those type of environments, and I'm going to do that with force-on-force, and we're going to have simunition and dry fire courses and things like that, where you're going to see how difficult it really is to make a precision shot with targets in your target's foreground, your target's background, with obstacles in the way, with cover and concealment in the way, with bullets flying right by your head, and you're hearing them whiz by your ear. It's going to change things. It's a very different type of situation. So that's the benefits and the reason for me providing these dry fire courses, and just how beneficial they could be to shooters to prepare them for an active shooter situation. And, again, it's important for me to explain the reality of active shooter situation. I mean, don't think, you're going to just be able to go in there and pop this shot between this guy's eyes and come out completely unscathed and be the hero. Oftentimes being a hero means you're coming out pretty banged up, or you're coming out in a box, but it doesn't change the fact that you saved many lives. So facing a situation like that, the odds are stacked against you. This guy probably has, carbine, you're going with a pistol. They have body armor. They don't care about targets in their foreground, targets in their background. You do. So you're at a disadvantage. It's a very tough situation to work, even with good training. So I give you the best chances possible to be able to make that decision and face that situation, but don't get it twisted. If you're stepping into a situation like that and you're doing what you need to do to help preserve your life and the life of others, it's a lot. It's a lot. And there needs to be a lot of training, a lot of serious training, a lot of very specific focused training on that situation itself in order to prepare you to be able to make a decision and actually go through something like that with at least a fighting chance. Okay? So, quick video, not too quick, ended up being about 10 minutes, but this better explains the dry courses that I provide and the benefits of doing a dry course like this and what it is going to do for you as a shooter. Okay? If you really want to be an asset to society rather than a hazard, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get this kind of training. That's how you become an asset to society. You need to have the skill sets to be able to go through situations like this and help, not hurt. If you haven't had this kind of training and you just start pulling out your gun and spraying and praying, you're doing more harm than good. So I just wanted to clear that up and really explain why I do these courses and just what you're getting when you come to a course like that, right? So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. You know, hopefully this helps and answers some of the questions that may have been out there. You know, be safe, guys. Thanks a lot.